The Biden betrayal, the Biden chaos along the border. Where does it end? Hi, I'm Dan Stein, president of FAIR, and don't forget to hit that subscribe button to all of our YouTube content to get the latest on what's happening on immigration policy and the disaster that is unfolding before America's eyes. I'm joined today by Susan Tully, who is FAIR's director and manager of law enforcement relations and does a lot of work in field as well, and of course has been involved in this issue for many, many decades. Welcome, Susan.
Good morning. Thank you, Dan. It's good to be with you.
Yeah, Susan's in touch with law enforcement all the time, works closely with sheriffs all around the country, as well as Border Patrol personnel. Susan, what's the situation right now?
Dan, people that I'm talking to, sheriffs down in Arizona and in Texas, as well as previous Trump administration appointees at DHS who are no longer there, but just down at the border over the weekend, the frantic sound in their voice alarms me. And as you said, we've done this for a lot of years. So it's not as if we haven't seen these surges from time to time, but what everybody is saying is in their 35 years or more in law enforcement on the border, they've never seen what they're seeing right now to the magnitude that they're seeing it. And which is interesting because Arizona hasn't even opened up for processing of people yet, unlike Texas. And so for them to be this alarmed this early in says, I don't think we begin to understand how big this is going to be.
Well, the administration seems to be saying that there's no crisis on the border, that they're managing this process, that their role is apparently screening people, letting them in, and then letting smugglers bring in minor children, and then the government orchestrating the smuggling of their minor children and relocating them into the country, apparently without limit. Is that what the people out down there on the border are seeing?
Well, in Arizona, they're not even processing those people yet. Those checkpoints aren't open for the children or the people to come in. So what they're seeing is all illegal entry into the U.S. at a higher number than they've ever seen before. I think what people have to realize and remember that consistently for the last 30 or 40 years, whatever number they report that they're apprehending or who are turning themselves in, there's a full 70% plus who they're not catching at all. And those numbers are still consistent according to law enforcement on the border because they have hundreds of cameras. And so while they don't always encounter these people, they always see how many are really coming. So what Sheriff Daniels was telling me and Chief Napier was that they're catching about 30 to 34% who are turning themselves in or coming or being caught. But that means the full 70% of the rest of the world is that's coming through there is not even detected by most people. So this is where you're getting those smugglers, like in California last week, who cut through the border and just came through with two vehicles, one with 19 people and the other with 25. Didn't end well for the people who were in the car with 25 because 14 of them ended up dead.
Well, what are people on the border saying the administration is doing? Like, what do they think is the agenda here? Why would the Biden administration let something like this happen? Biden's been in Congress. He was in Congress for 40 years. He was vice president 2 terms. Surely his age and experience would let him know that the policy changes that they implemented right after he took the oath of office was going to lead to this kind of crisis. So, I mean, what's the explanation behind allowing this to happen?
I think that's the $64,000 question that everybody wants the answer to, short of saying this is intentional and we want to bring all of the people who want to come here finally without rule of law. What other explanation do you have? Nobody knew better than Biden what would happen the minute he announced that they would process everybody who comes, or the DHS secretary who says, we're not going to turn you away. We're asking you, go ahead, don't not come, just don't come now. So what does that say to the entire world? Dan, what I'm really concerned about is when I'm reading the articles of what's going on in South America and Central America, that there are hundreds of these little mini caravans coming from different countries. For instance, in Guyana, that's where the Cubans have settled because they're allowed to go to that country. So there's about 500 of them who are starting their little mini caravan that's heading for the US border. And my source, DHS.
Colombia right now, too.
Yes, they're making their way to that last hill. They have to go, I can't remember the name of it, the pass in Colombia that will bring them on down then, and it's a straight shot up through Central America and Panama. Panama has been feeling a lot of pressure from the people they're getting impatient. But this is happening in countries all over South and Central America. So I don't think we even have any idea how many hundreds of thousands or potentially millions of people are on their way. The law enforcement source I spoke to over the weekend on Sunday, who was down at the border all weekend, this was a previous Trump DHS high official appointed by the president, who told me all of the people they encountered on Sunday were from Cuba. So these are people who obviously went to South America, to Guyana or Suriname, and waited and have now made their way at least to the southern border. But there's hundreds more waiting.
Well, we know that Biden appointed as a DHS secretary, Alejandro Mayorkas, who has a track record of believing that he has an unlimited authority to simply suspend the operation of immigration laws and provide legal status to people as a form of parole. In the case of the deferred action for childhood arrivals, that program was illegal, frankly, in our view, but based on the precedent, he probably feels he has the tools to bootstrap literally unlimited numbers of people through the legal system artificially by letting them come in as either temporary protected status, deferred enforcement, deferred departure, some kind of humanitarian parole or asylum seeker, and then allow their relatives to join them through an expectation that Congress is going to ratify this kind of chaos. I mean, is it possible that Biden himself is simply cognitively so impaired that he permitted this thing to happen by deferring to these radicals that he's appointed within his administration who have an agenda that is completely antithetical to what Joseph Biden himself might have supported, say, as recently as 10 years ago?
I think that's probably a strong possibility. But I would say to you that I don't think any of those people really have thought this through, because they have no idea what is down on the other side of that border, meaning through Central America and South America now, as well as the rest of the world. I think the thing that I'm most concerned about, and I know law enforcement is as well, is that many of these people are what they call aliens, special interest aliens. They have traversed multiple continents to get to South America and Central America. These are people who can't come through our system legally for a variety of reasons, and one of them could be terrorism and who they are and why they want to come here. And so when you have the numbers that we're seeing that law enforcement is talking about of people from Pakistan and from Iran and Syria that are coming through in larger numbers than they've ever seen before, the word has gone out to anyone and everyone, those who want to come here for a better life, but those who want to hurt us as well. And being overwhelmed at the border, law enforcement being overwhelmed at the border in the way that they are, means that these people will not be caught. They will not be processed. We will not know who they are. And they will simply be in this country along with these hundreds of thousands of others. And it could be some time before we know what their intent is. So that's a very scary prospect.
Now, to say nothing of the burden on the school systems in the middle of a pandemic, this is all that's allowing to happen. This is a full-on malfeasance by the president, the commander-in-chief, abdicating his fundamental role to protect the American people, to protect our borders. Well, that's all the time we have right now. So any closing comments before we check out?
Well, I just wanted to point out one of the law enforcement people that I talked to over the weekend has a best friend who just was in Italy on business, got COVID. His wife decided to come on home. She's been held now in New York, even though she has tested non-positive for COVID, she is not allowed to go back home. But the border's wide open and hundreds and thousands of people are pouring in here, not even being tested, Dan, and they're being allowed to roam. So I just, this is something that we have never seen before. It's disingenuous for this administration to say they're concerned about a pandemic and at the same time do what they're doing.
Oh,
So
over and over again, we saw that all last year with the demonstration.
we really want to see people support their local law enforcement, make their phone calls to the White House, to all of their members of Congress, and tell them to stop this insanity.
All right. Well, we encourage all our members to get involved. Remember, you can get involved with what FAIR is doing by going to our website, www.fairus.org. That's fairus.org. Don't forget to subscribe to all our content. Hear more from Susan, all our great team out in the field, as well as our government relations folks and media folks. I'm Dan Stein, president of FAIR. Thanks for joining.